Hello and welcome to my new video. Today we'll make color print with the RA4 process, and by the good tradition let's start to choosing the negative for today's print. I wanna continue printing from the summer in Copenhagen, and today I have a really good shot what I make on the ferry here in Copenhagen. I really like it because it's kind of give the mood of the Copenhagen in a small cropped picture, and in the same time it's kind of abstract picture. And I really like the depth of this picture and the multi-layer structure of the frame. Let's clean up the glass plates on the film holder, clean up the negative, and load the negative in my enlarger. I still don't get anti-Newton glass unfortunately, and in this video you will see why I have a problem with this setup. First of all, I don't really want to remove the glass from my enlarger because I really like the flat frames. Everything is stable, and when you clean it, it's actually also dust-free, so I can basically stick my negative and keep it there for the week. So I think it creates more stability in time, especially if you have a longer printing sessions. Today we'll continue printing with the 20 by 25 size, with the 1 cm frame lines on the sides of the paper. But in future I actually need to cut new batch of the paper, and also I need to cut for now test strips for my test printer. It's quite easy task, so I do it in complete darkness, and I'm thinking to make a video about the safe light in the future videos. If you like the idea, just put it in a comment below. So let's sign up today's day and put the settings for initial printing setup. I'm using this handy test printer. I really like this approach because you can sample and beta test the same kind of a crop of the picture which you think is the most interesting. And because I'm at the moment shooting mostly with a 50mm lens and f1.2, I honestly really like the approach because you have a so thin depth of field and you can focus on the same spot, and you can also test print your focus of interest. And today I also realized that I already have experience to guess which aperture I want just based on the illumination of the table. So I started with the f5.6 and a 3 seconds intervals on my first test strip. As you remember, the first step actually find the proper exposure, or exposure what you actually like on your final print. I'm still using Adox chemistry, but I think after almost a year with the open bottle, I think it's no longer works perfectly with the color, and I still have this kind of a strange sediment after half a year of storage of these bottles. So I'm thinking 1 liter of this solution, it's probably overkill and you don't really need so much solution, and even if I cannot print this much, probably you also can. And I think the best way to actually prolong the life of the chemicals is to make kits for 250 milliliters. And for God's sake, please use the new type of bottles, because from there you can actually make your life much easier. So if you need a 1 drum and 1 rotation, it's a 250 milliliters. If you need a more for developing films, like 5 films in the same time, you just need a half a liter. And if you're crazy or you have a crazy amount of film in the same time, just use 1 liter and double stack of the Yoba drum. But I think it rarely happens, and this is not the case what normal human beings do in the home lab. So let's take a look on the first test prints and set up the proper exposure for my next print. So my test print looks excellent, and I really like the dynamics, and I really like the contrast and the whites and the gray background there. So I will start with something in the middle, so around 10 seconds. As a good practice, I always put all of my settings in my lab book that I can reprint my work again and again, and I don't really need to retest and do anything at all. At least I will know the main direction and what I want to do with the prints in future. I actually thinking the paper-wise is good, but I think for the long storage it's not really perfect way to do things. And the darkroom, yes, it's kind of outdated a little bit in terms of technology, and I really like the intermix of fully analog stuff with the digital stuff to basically improve your life and make your analog stuff more precise and more cool. So I kind of have a belief that if you collect more information about your prints, how you print them, how you make them more stable, you have more ability as the artist to change stuff and control multiple variables in the same time. So for example, I have no idea how the concentration of array chemistry, how I can use it to basically shift a little bit of the color representation to use it as an effect and not really how perfect reproductions and RA4 chemistry works. So it's a lot of questions, and I also think if you have a densitometer, especially translucent one, which can measure film and at the same time which can measure the paper, it's amazing tool what you can implement in your darkroom and have all the reference you want, and your prints will be more stable and your understanding of the development will be more stable. So with the color, I think it's quite important stuff, but for now let's check my final preprint. So this is a full size and I want to fix few problems. So the first problem, I actually have these Newton rings on top of the flat surface and they just happen once in a while, so I want to reclean everything and just take it again in my enlarger, and I also want to crop the side of this frame to make it a little bit more robust in terms of composition. And now I want the composition in the frame works a little bit different from the bottom right to the left top corner. So the first impression of the print should be you don't really understand what is on the print, and when you look on this you start glancing from the one side to another, and after a while you're starting to understand what is actually pictured. And this is also so Danish thing to see in Copenhagen, so much blonde people, and this is whole families which is also blonde, and I have a few defects on this print as a dust specks, but I'm actually alright with it. So in future I will probably invest in a retouching of my prints, but for now, thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next videos. If you're still not subscribed to my channel, please consider do so, and thank you again. See you in the next one.